Hello and welcome to our 13th session, and in this session we are going to continue our modeling of our robot model, and in this session we are going to model the robot arms. So to begin with, I will come into Blender and I am now going to open the file 312 robot design stage 1 file, and now to continue I will come into file save as, and in the folder I am going to name this as 313 robot design stage 2. And I am going to press save, and I am going to save this. I will press 1 and come into the front view, and the first thing is I am going to now design this arm. So to begin with, I will press Shift A and I am now going to add a UV sphere. And as soon as I add the UV sphere, I will press Tab and come into the edit view, and then press S and I am going to scale it. I will press Z and move into wireframe view, then press G and pull it here. If required, scale this. I will move it here, press G and place it here, and I will again press S and I am going to slightly place it exactly to this point. And then I am going to now rotate this along the Y by 90 degree, so that I have this arm over here. So I will press G, move it, and I will correctly adjust this position like this. And also if required, I will press 3 and come into the side view. I will press GY and I will slightly move it to the side, and if required GZ and slightly move it to the top, and press 1 and see it. Okay, this appears, there is a slight difference in these two images. So that's why we are seeing a slight difference. So I will just move it down a little, and now I will press 3 and this is precisely placed. And now I will press Tab and come into the object mode, and here I am going to name this sphere as shoulder. After adding the shoulder, I will again zoom out, press Shift A, and this time I am now going to add a cylinder. And for this cylinder I am going to set its radius to 0.1, and then I will press Tab and I am going to just scale it, and then press G and move it here, and I will zoom this and I will press S and scale it. I will type RY 90 degree and I will rotate it, press enter, and then I will again scale this a little. If required, I will press G and bring it over here. I will press scale and set the size to this width. Now only thing is I will type SX, and along the X axis I will scale it down. I will press GX and I will move it, and if required SX and slightly scale it so that it just goes inside. Then press GX and slightly move it like this. So now once we have set the position, I will press 3 and come into the side view, and now I will press GY and I am going to move it and place it at the center like this. Okay, now I will press 1 and come over here, press Tab, and I am now going to name this cylinder as arm. Now for this next object, this is again a cylinder. So I will select the cylinder arm, then I will press Shift D, duplicate it, right click so that it is duplicated at the same position. Now I will press Tab and I am now going to type, I will press A and I am going to rotate it along the Y axis by 90 degree. I will press G and along the X axis I am going to move it and bring it over here, and then I will press S and along the Z axis I will scale it down a little like this. Then I will press S and I will scale it up a little like this. Okay, so now if required I will just zoom this, and along SZ I will scale it down a little like this. See, this should be of the same size. If required I will press GZ and I will slightly move it to the bottom and align it so that this is exactly to the center. Then I will press 3 and come into the side view, and in the side view now I will press R and I am going to slightly rotate it like this. Then press numpad 1 and come into the front view, and I will press RX and I am going to rotate it and adjust it to match this image. Then I will press Tab and I will come over here and I am now going to name this as elbow. Now I am going to select this arm in the object mode, press Shift D, move it and right click to just duplicate it. I will then press Tab and come into the edit mode, press GX and I am going to move it on the other side like this, then SX to scale it along the X axis, GX and slightly move it here, SX a little to scale it, then GX to move it like this, and I am going to set this position like this, press Tab and come back to object mode, and now I am going to call this as forearm. And now I will zoom out and I am in the object mode. Now to create this wrist part of the hand, I will press Shift A and I am now going to add a UV sphere. Then press Tab and come into the edit mode, press S and scale it, press G and bring it over here. If required, zoom it, with Shift middle mouse move this. Now RY 90, rotate it by 90 degree, then press S and scale this. I will just zoom this a little. With GX I am going to move it here and place it to this line. I will press S and I am going to scale it down like this, then GZ to move it to the top like this, then S and I am going to slightly scale it like this, GZ and I will move it slightly to the bottom, then I will press SX and along the X I am going to scale it so that it matches approximately this profile. And after matching this, I will come into the vertex mode. I will then come into the toggle X-ray mode. I am then going to select all the vertices over here, press X and choose delete vertices. And now I have only this end of the vertices. If required, I will press 3 and come into the side view, press GY and I am going to slightly move it and place it exactly to the center. Then I will press 1 and come into the front view, and now I will come into edge mode. I am going to alt click on this edge and then I will zoom it, and with middle mouse click I will just press E and along the X axis I will extrude it a little like this. Then I will press S and I am going to scale it down like this, and then I will just rotate this, and now I will press ES and I am going to scale it down once, ES and scale it down twice, and then press F to fill it. Now if I press 1 and if I come into the solid mode, you can now see this object is created. I will press Tab. I am in the object mode. I am now going to call this object or this sphere as wrist. And now to create this hand, again I will zoom out and I will press Shift A and I am now going to add another UV sphere. I will immediately press Tab, and in the edit mode I will scale it down a little. I will press G and come over here. I will just zoom it with Shift middle mouse. I am going to move it, and here I am going to now type RY 90 degree. Along Y axis I will rotate it by 90 degree, press S and scale it. Now I will zoom this. I will come into the wireframe mode. I will press Shift middle click and I will press G and place it exactly somewhere at the center here. Then I will press S and I am going to scale it to fit the width first. So let this width be correct. So I will set this width correctly. Then I will press SX and along the X I am going to slightly scale this like this. So that I see like this, I am going to scale this along the X axis. So I will scale it till here. Yeah, this is fine. I will come into this vertex selection mode, and then seeing that this toggle X-ray is on, I will select all the vertices here and press X and I am going to delete this word. I will press A, and in this case I want this to match with this. So I will come into this snapping and I am going to enable edge, and then I am going to select this, press GZ, and as I move, see, I will just align it to this vertex. Okay, so now next I am also going to move G and along the x axis slightly back like this, a little back like this, and then I will alt click here and I am going to select this loop. I am going to press E. I will alt click on this loop. I will press E, and along the x axis I will move it till here to this point. Then I am going to press S and I am going to scale this down so that this exactly matches this. See, like this. So it has exactly matched. Now I will middle mouse click, turn it, and I am going to press ES and I will scale it down once, ES and I will scale it down one more time, and I will press F to fill it. Then I will press 1 and come into the front view, and I will press tab and come into the object mode. I will come into the solid state. So now I have this hand ready and I am going to call this sphere as hand. Now we have to create these fingers. Shift middle click, and if I move the other side, you can see some lines running in between these fingers. So to create this structure, I will zoom out, I will press shift middle click, I will press shift A, and I am now going to first add a cylinder. And only thing is, in case of this cylinder, I will set the number of vertices to 20. I will press tab and come into the edit mode, and I will press S and I am going to now scale it. I will just zoom it, and also see, I will just scale it a little. I will scale it a little like this, then S, Z, and along the Z axis I will scale it like this to make it the size of something like a finger. I want the top portion of the finger to be like a dome. So for that, I will press 2 and come into the edge mode. I will alt click and select the top edge. Then I will press Ctrl B, and I am now going to draw a bevel like this, and as I draw, I roll the mouse forward and I am going to create segments like this, and I am just going to drag it like this. So now I will just bevel its width to around 0.03, and I have added 3 divisions, and I will press Ctrl R, and I am now going to create a lot of segments like that. I will again right click and place it at the center, and I will like 12 cuts, and then I am now going to come into the face selection mode, and I will alt click and select all the faces, that is alternative faces like this. Shift middle click, and I have selected all the alternate faces. I will press E and I will right click, then I will press Alt S, and I am now going to scale it down a little like this, and then if I press tab, so I have a structure like this finger ready. Now here I will press tab, come back into edit mode, press A to select everything, and I will zoom out with shift middle click. I will move it up. I will press G, and in edit mode I will move this and I will bring it somewhere here. Say I will first bring it over here, press R, slightly rotate it, press G and place it here, press S, and if required move it like this, and I am going to set one finger like this. Now I will press shift D and I am going to duplicate this, then I will press R and I am going to rotate it like this. I will press G, move it and place it somewhere here. Then I will again press shift D, I will duplicate it, I will press R and I am going to rotate it, and with G I will place this finger over here, and similarly I will press Shift D again. I will press R and I am going to rotate it like this. Press G, move it and set the position like this. So if required, I will press R and slightly rotate it. So now I have my 4 fingers, but only thing is, whatever the part you are seeing inside the hand, these vertices are not required. So I can remove it off. So for that, with this selected, now I will move back, and in the vertex mode, I will just come into solid mode, and in wireframe, I will just move here. In edge selection mode, I am going to select this entire edge like this, press 1 and then press Ctrl number plus to make this selection. I will even select this block. I am in the vertex selection mode. I will press X and delete all this one. Now similarly here, Alt click this, press Ctrl plus and make a selection till here approximately, then press X and delete these vertices. Alt click here, Ctrl plus and make the selection till here, press X and delete the vertices. Alt click here and press Ctrl plus to make the selection like this, press X and going to delete the vertex. So now if I disable this and if I come and see this, I have my fingers ready. So I will press Tab. Now here, if I press 7 and come into the top view and see here, see there is an issue here, because if I come into the wireframe mode and if I see this, see it is coming till here, okay, this is fine, but if I press 7 and here, this is also fine, but this part is not aligned correctly. So don't move it in the object mode. Press Tab and come into edit mode, press A to select everything. Now I am going to zoom it like this, press G and along the Y axis I will move it, and I am going to align it with these lines like this. Now I will press Tab and come back, and similarly now I will select fingers, press Tab and come into edit mode, press A to select everything, then press GY, move it and place it exactly at the center. Okay, now if I come into the solid state and if I see this, so now we have our hand ready. I want another hand on the other side, and as you already know, we are going to add this other hand by using a modifier which is the mirror modifier, and this is the exact reason why we have put the origin point at the center. And because the origin point is exactly at the center here, it will be mirrored perfectly. So right now I will come and switch off these reference images, and I have just selected these fingers, and I will come into add modifiers, and I am going to search for this mirror modifier, and when I click on this, you can see the fingers have been mirrored on the other side. Now I have to apply the same modifier to all the objects here. So instead of selecting each object and applying the modifier, what I will do is, starting with this shoulder, I will select this arm, elbow, then forearm, wrist and this hand, and lastly I will select the fingers, so that fingers is the active object. And now I will just press Ctrl L, and when I click on Ctrl L, you have link transfer data, and in this I have an option copy modifiers, and when I click on copy modifiers, you can now see all these modifiers are applied to this object from the fingers. So the next thing we are going to work on will be the hips. Say for example, I will enable this and I am going to create this hip area. So I will press Shift A and I am now going to add a UV sphere. And once I add it, I will press tab and enter into the edit mode. I will press S and scale it. I will press G, Z and move it to the top. I will then press R, Y 90 and I will rotate it, and then I will click, and finally I will enable the wireframe and I will press S, and I am going to just adjust this position like this. Then I will press SX and I am going to scale it to fit this dimension. Then I will press 3 and come into the side view, and you can see that this is not exactly matching our view. So for this I will press S and I will slightly scale it down again here, press G and move it and place it exactly and match it in our side view like this. Now I will press 1 and come into the front view, and you can as of now see that I have to now rework to achieve this shape. So for this I will just scale it a little more like this, press G, Z and I will move it here. I will just adjust a little more of the scale like this, and now let us start adjusting these loops. So now here if I come into solid mode and if I just have a look at this shape, see this shape should exactly sit on this circle. So what I will do is I will press 3 and here I will just make this sit exactly on this circle. So I will slightly move it over here, press S and I will slightly scale it down a little, so that I will just scale it down little, press 3 and I will press G, Z, move it and see that this curvature here and this curvature matches. So I will press G and I will place it here, and I will see that these two curvature are first matching here. So that now I have this structure like this. Okay. Now I will press 1 and I will come into wireframe, and I am going to now adjust these loops one by one to get this shape. And when I am doing this adjustment, whatever adjustment I do on the right side, the same will be applied on the left hand side. So for that reason I will enable toggle X-ray, and in the vertex selection mode I will select all the vertices here, press X and I am going to delete all the vertices. Now I will come into add modifier, and in search I will search for mirror modifier and apply it. To now in edit mode select everything, stop it, and I will come into this mirror mode and I will enable clipping. This is very important. So once I clip it, when I scale it, this will not overlap. So I will just scale and see that this fits both on the left and right hand side here like this with this shape. So I am seeing that it fits exactly on this surface over here. So we have got that fitting. Okay, fine. So I will come into the front view now. Now next I am going to enable the wireframe mode, and now in this wireframe mode I am going to now come into the edge selection mode, and I am going to select the edges one by one here, and I am going to now press S and I am going to move it like this. And as I scale this, see I will scale this, press GZ and move it, and I am going to match this with this. Similarly, I will select this edge, I will slightly scale it up like this, see slightly I will scale it, press GZ and slightly move it to the top little like this, and again press S to slightly scale it like this. See that we maintain this line. So I will just press shift and I am going to scale it. So to precisely scale this, then press GZ and I am slightly moving it, and similarly now I will come and select this loop and I will press S, and I am now going to scale this and make it fit till here, then press GZ and I am going to move it and place it here, and similarly I will select this and press S and I will slightly scale this, press GZ and I will slightly move it here and place it somewhere here and press S again and scale it. So, I am just matching the outline perfectly, and similarly I will select this loop, press S to scale this a little more like this, see, till here. I will scale it a little more, GZ and I will slightly move it to the top. Then I am going to next select this loop here. I will press S and I am now going to scale this like this, and I am going to now press GZ and move it to the top like this. And finally, I will turn here and take the vertex selection mode, select this vertex, press 1 and I am now going to just press G and drag it and adjust this like this over here. So, now if I come into solid state and if I press tab and see this, so I am almost getting this perfect shape. So, there are little ununiform scaling at this one and this one. I will press 1, come into the front view, I will press Alt, I will just select this loop and I will just scale it a little like this. With shift I will scale it, and as I scale this I also press GZ, move it and adjust the position. Similarly, this one also I will just press GZ and slightly move it down, and now check this, and so now we have got this surface and we are seeing this, and this appears to be fine. Here I will press 1, I will come into wireframe selection mode and I will press tab, and in the edit mode with the vertex selected I select the vertex point here and press Ctrl plus to select these two circles. Then I will press 1, and if I zoom and if I have a look at this, see, this is slightly flattened. So, what I will do is I will press SX and I am going to just scale it down a little like this, then press GX and I am going to slightly move this till here. Say I will move it till here, and then I will alt click and select this and I am going to press S and I am just going to scale this a little more, then GZ to move it slightly to the top, and if I press tab, come into solid mode and if I see this, so now I see that this appears more flat. Now, here I will select this, press tab and come into edit mode, and in face selection mode I am now going to select this face and I am now going to press E, extrude it, right click and cancel it, and then I am going to press Alt S and I am going to scale it down like this. So, I will scale it down by around minus 0.03 units, and I will press 1 and come into the front view, and now what I want is this should be match exactly with this. So, for this come into vertex selection mode, I will press Alt A and deselect everything and I will select this, and right now first I will alt click this loop, press GX and I am going to slightly move it till here, and then I will alt click and select this and press GX and I am going to move this and place it just above this in this way. Okay, and then I am going to alt click and select this loop, press 1 and let it be at the same position, but only thing now I will select the other loop, outside loop over here, and then I will come into 1, press GX and I am going to move it till here, and then alt click and select the inside loop, press 1 and press GX and move it like this and bring it almost to this level. So now I will press 1 and come into the front view. I will come over here and I will select this spear and I am now going to call this as hips. And now the next part that we are going to now model is the legs. So if I press 3 and if I come into the side view and I will come into the wireframe mode and I will show you this part of creating this leg is a little complicated, and this part we are going to discuss it in our next session.